Paranormal. That cannot be explained by scientific methods.
Told of a creature that was 6.5 to 7 feet tall.
The CIA ran secret mind control experiments.
It's a tale of a creature that's been seen by many, but believed by few.
And experts say there have been reported sightings of paranormal activity.
And there was this creature, and it ran down this hill.
They say something was flying over their house, and they have no idea what it was.
How the world's most powerful individuals are actually shape-shifting reptilians.
My scariest ghost hunting experience.
Jason and JV.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Can't handle the truth. Put it down.
Beyond reality. Radio.
It's Tuesday on the West Coast, Wednesday on the East Coast. Many are stuck somewhere in between. Welcome to Beyond Reality Radio with myself, Jason Hawes, and the always awesome JV Johnson.
We don't get to talk about extraterrestrials. We talk about UFOs quite a bit, but the actual aliens, to use a word that is probably going to be disputed when we bring our guest in later, but I'll use it for now. The actual aliens that are among us, according to our guest tonight, and they are misunderstood, and there's a deliberate campaign of misinformation being perpetrated upon us so that we fear these individuals. And tonight we're going to get to talk about all of that.
Well, and I mean, I can see it, both sides of it, and I agree with you that there's definitely this whole thing about making us fear them. But also, do you think somewhere inside we should fear them?
Well, I think it's natural to fear them.
Well, not even fear. I mean, be cautious, because you never truly know something's intentions, especially if it's so much more advanced than you. I mean, look at well, us as humans. We're more advanced than so many other things, and we're way up on this pedestal. And I mean, we cage animals and things of that nature. So it makes you wonder. I mean, it becomes a sort of a, you got to be standoffish.
I think you're absolutely right. We need to be cautious. We need to be deliberate, and we need to be methodical about any contact with alien races. But according to our guest that we will have on a little bit later, we're talking about Judy Carroll tonight. We are getting fed misinformation, and we shouldn't have so much fear, I guess is the word. But she's going to tell us why. She's going to present the case. She's an extraterrestrial ambassador, and she is in contact with the Greys, and she's going to talk all about that. She's going to give us the information that they want us to have and cut through the clutter. I don't know if it's the government that's messing it up or if it's other aliens that are messing it up, but somebody is not allowing the message to get through the way it's supposed to.
Do you think there's other aliens out there trying to, like, step in and I mean, it's a serious thing. It's whether it's humans dealing with other humans and people getting involved. Could other aliens be getting involved and trying to make it so there's not a connection? According to our guest, that has happened already on the Earth. So we'll see. We'll get the full story when Judy joins us in just a little bit. You've got some pretty good news, though. The Beyond Reality Radio family of radio stations has grown by a good chunk the last few days. Always expanding. It's like the flu. It just keeps on spreading.
Spreading around.
No, we would like to welcome WDSR 1340 AM, Lake City, Florida. WYPV 94.5, Mackinac City, Michigan. WHAK 960 AM, Rogers City, Michigan. It looks like we're taking over Michigan. WWMN 106.3 FM, Thompsonville, Michigan. And KTEL 1490 AM.
KTEL Records. So anyway, welcome to all those stations, all those markets. It does sound like Michigan is fully in the camp of Beyond Reality Radio now.
Well, I just like seeing Mackinac. I mean,
yeah,
I spent all the time Mackinac Island. We investigated up there on ghost hunters, and it was just such a great time.
Yeah, it's well, we're very, very happy to be in all those markets. By the way, if you're keeping track, tomorrow night we've got Kelly Sullivan Walden coming on the program. Kelly is a dream expert, and she's going to talk about what our dreams are telling us about our love lives. That's pretty specific.
And that's a perfect person to ask your question to.
No, that's your question.
Your dreams
it's not my question. It's your question.
About your dreams of those volcanoes going off. I mean,
when I was 16, yes.
I mean, look at what's going on in Hawaii right now. Jeez.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah. I just saw some images of that, and wow, it just seems to get more and more intense as the days go on. A good friend of mine just came back from Hawaii. He had booked the trip long before any of this started to happen. He was concerned that it would prevent him from going, but it didn't. He was actually able to go. And not only that, but they're doing helicopter tours over the lava. So you could actually see what it looks like. It's pretty impressive from what I understand. But yeah, I mean, I just saw that the lava flow was like right up to the edge of a power plant. Which
could geothermal power plant.
Yeah, which could cause some trouble there.
It's just terrifying.
A lot of homes lost already, man. I mean, it's all part of nature, and thank God it's not like an eruption. It's a slow lava flow that people can get away from if they're paying attention. As opposed to like you're right, exactly. Got to keep an eye on that.
Building pressure. We could not stay on track with any. I think we're like two individuals with severe cases of ADD.
Well, you weren't here last night, so we got all this pent up stuff we have to talk about.
I know, but we started this dream. We rolled into the volcano dreams and then Hawaii. Anyways, and then Thursday we'll be talking with James Olson. We'll be discussing how the whole brain thinking can save the future, and explore how we can achieve peace within ourselves, with others, and in the world by better understanding the nature of consciousness. If you haven't yet, make sure you head over to facebook.com/Beyond Reality Radio, like the Facebook page for us. Then head to beyondrealityradio.com, where you can find all the stations we air on across the country. You can also download the free iPhone and Android app right there. It allows you to listen live, catch past shows, join the online chat, and more. Or just click the pop-up button right there on the website in the upper right-hand corner, and you can listen to the show right from the website any night we're live. If you download the show from iTunes or anywhere else, do us a favor and just rate it for us. It helps push it forward and makes it easier for people to find.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do. We, of course, appreciate it and appreciate you supporting the program in any way that you can. Don't forget to stop and look at the mug as well. The Beyond Reality Radio coffee mugs flying out of here. We can't keep them in stock. I mean,
check out our mugs.
These things are
out our mugs.
These things are a hot item.
It doesn't even sound right.
No, it doesn't. Make sure you do that. Also, if you get a chance, stop by Scaricon.com. It's an event coming up, and it's in June 15th, 16th, 17th. It's a great event if you like horror films and paranormal entertainment. Check it out. A lot of stuff on the website there. You'll be impressed, I'm sure.
It's always a good time. Always a good time. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get into the Zeta message and so much more with Judy Carroll, our guest, extraterrestrial ambassador. All right, you're listening to Jason and JV, Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
I actually died to my last life in a conscious way, so I sort of brought some understanding through as to who I am and why I'm here. And I was reborn down here in Australia in 1952. And I'd actually been part of an ET mission in my past life in which I died. And my role for this mission was to be an ambassador and bridge between the Zeta Greys and the Earth human species. So part of my pre-birth soul preparation was actually to connect energetically with the collective consciousness of both races. This is actually what's meant by a blended soul, which is how I describe myself. And having this link with the two enables us to link consciously with two planetary cultures rather than the usual one that most people come in with. The whole idea was I had to learn as much as I could about being a human in order to carry out my mission, which is basically, as all ETs are down here for, to awaken Earth humans to higher levels of consciousness and a broader broader conscious awareness, which is part of the evolution of the race. So we're carrying out work like I am at the moment. I'm a Tai Chi instructor, and I also teach Reiki, which enables me to teach people about energy, but we're also carrying out DNA work to assist in the conscious awareness awakening of Earth humans, and we're also carrying out genetic work, which is part of this DNA work. What people don't understand generally is that expanded conscious awareness is linked intrinsically with the amount of DNA that we have activated. And of course, down here they talk about junk DNA, which is simply unactivated DNA that needs to be reawoken. So the idea was that I come in and understand as much as I possibly could about what it is to actually be an Earth human so that I can work with more empathy with people. People complain that the Greys are emotionless and that we don't communicate, and they level all sorts of accusations like that against us. So this is the reason why some like me have come here to actually live life as Earth humans, to learn as much as we can. So for the first 30 years of my life, I more or less closed off the ET part of my consciousness, and this enabled me to immerse myself totally into actually being an Earth human. And this worked very well, but at the same time, some awareness of contact with the ETs was coming through. But this was okay because it enabled me to experience the fear of ET contact through Earth human eyes. So all through my whole childhood, I was caught between this fear and a deep-seated yearning for my off-planet existence, which I sort of carried through, or half carried through, in my consciousness. Awakening came at age 30 with a very full-on daytime encounter in which I recognised the ETs as my family. And during this encounter, I was reminded of my assignment down here, and a massive download of information and advice was given me regarding this work we're carrying out on Earth, because I had to understand it consciously and the part that I was to play in it. They also advised me of further studies I needed to do in order to undertake this work. And the advice I was given was to learn to meditate, because that would assist communication, which it has. I was also told that I should take up Tai Chi, because prior to that I'd actually been a professional dancer. So I was very physically oriented, and trying to immediately sit down and do passive meditation would have been very hard. So the Grey family suggested that I take up Tai Chi. Now, it was actually quite good proof, because back then, I mean, this was 1983 in Australia. We had very little knowledge of anything like that. I'd never even heard of Tai Chi back then. And they gave me a little bit of an idea of what it was. It was like a type of a movement. And it was quite some time later that I had the chance to actually take it up and learn, and I was amazed to find out that it's also known as moving meditation. So it was a wonderful bridge to get me through to where I needed to be. They also told me that I needed to learn an alternative healing technique, and that I would be teaching these things one day, which was Queensland, where I'm living, and she was going to start meditation classes. This then led through to learning to do automatic writing and channeling. So, one after another, things all fell into place. I started teaching Tai Chi in the late 1980s, 1989 I think it was, and part of the meditation group that I sat in was joined by a man who was teaching Reiki at the time, and so I ended up learning Reiki. I was attuned to first level Reiki in 1983 and went through. I did about 6 years training, and I've been teaching since about 1999. So through all these avenues. Sorry? Yes?
Well, when you were saying earlier that you're doing genetic and DNA testing, are you specifically doing that, or are the Greys supposedly doing that?
Well, it's part of the work that I do carry out as a Grey, but the Greys are doing it. That's one of the main jobs we're doing. I actually have memories of being up on the ship carrying out this work.
Okay, gotcha.
Judy, I don't know if you wanted to add to that right now. We've got to go to break here in a little bit less than a minute. You've said a lot here in a very short period of time, and when we come back from the break, we want to break it down a little bit. I want to get a better sense of exactly. You said that you lived a life as a human previously, and then you came back, and I'm not sure I understand. Are you now still human, or are you a hybrid, or are you Grey, or are you a human that has been assimilated to the Greys? Let's answer all of that when we come back from the break. Okay, let's because I don't want to cut it short, because it's a very, very, very important question to be answered. So we will get to that when we come back from the break. Don't forget the phone number. You're going to want to weigh in on this conversation. 844-687.
While joining an online chat room with a great community of people. All right, we're going to take a quick break. More to come. You listen to Jason and JV, Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
bumper music from the Australian group known as Midnight Oil for our Australian friend, our guest tonight, Judy Carroll, who's an extraterrestrial ambassador. Don't forget to stop by her website, ufograyinfo.com. We're talking about her book. Actually, we're going to talk about her books, but the recent book, The Zeta Message, Connecting All Beings in Oneness. And Judy, before we went to break, you told us a lot. You gave us a lot of information, and it was all kind of very quick. So we got to try to break some of this down. Explain to us exactly what happened between your past life as a human and your current life. What changed in between, and what exactly are you now? Are you fully human or not?
Okay, yes, Eddie, I am fully human. I have some grey genetics in me to enable that aspect of my consciousness to be here. What I actually think of myself as being is a blended soul. So the ET aspect is more on that higher vibrational frequency rather than the physical human frequency. This is necessary because those of us who are working down.
All right, you're breaking up on us pretty bad.
Have to be in human form to be able to adapt to the planet.
Okay, Judy, we're going to have Eddie look into that connection here and see if we can get something fixed, because it is just breaking up terribly right now. And I know we have a Skype connection because you're in Australia. So let's have Eddie do that. Let's take a break. When we come back, hopefully we'll have a better connection with Judy.
Sounds good. And the phone number is 844-687-7669. Again, toll free at 844-687-7669 if you want to weigh in on the topic. You're listening to Jason and JV Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
Okay, welcome back to Beyond Reality Radio with Jason and JV, and I think we've got a better connection now with our guest. We're talking with Judy Carroll. Judy is an extraterrestrial ambassador, and the question before we entered into that bit of a no man's land of internet connection was, Judy, before the break, you told us a lot. I want to get a sense and a real understanding of your progression from your past life, a fully human life, to what you are now, and it's some kind of, I don't know if it's hybrid or a human with an understanding of the Greys and their culture or what, but explain that part of it to us in detail, please.
Okay, well, in my past life, I was a Grey. I was a Zeta Grey in the past life, which ended in the 1940s. My physical body actually died in one of the ships that crashed down here. I spent some time down here and became aware that if we were to communicate with Earth humans on their level, we can't do it in that form. People are too scared because we look so different. So I made a decision during the conscious dying process, which we practice, that I would reincarnate back down here, but in a fully human body, a fully Earth human body. It's necessary to do this to be able to exist down here. There are a number of off-planet people here in human form. We do have some off-planet genetics in our makeup. Some have more, some have less, but the ET connection is actually at a higher level. So it's not necessarily going to show up if they start doing medical tests and things on us, although with some of the star children it is starting to show up. What I am is a blended soul. That's how I like to describe myself, with a connection on the soul level between the Earth human culture and the Grey culture. Now, this enables me to have a connection with both cultures, to be able to experience consciously in both cultures. This choice is actually made by the soul at the time of preparation for reincarnating into a life experience. Now, what people don't understand is everything's energy, and the energy frequencies that are required for a life ahead build up around the soul essence prior to incarnation. It's a bit like the layers of skin on an onion. In this way, the soul essence begins the process of individualization from source oneness, which we all go back to at the time of death, into a closer synchronization with whatever planetary collective consciousness we are planning to come into in our next life. We also have to connect with the species consciousness and racial group, etc., that's been chosen for the coming life. And our life plans depend on learning experiences that we need to carry out, or teaching, or whatever. There's always a reason. A life is always planned very carefully. Nothing is left to chance. Those souls like me whose work involves being an interplanetary ambassador, which was a choice that I made when I passed over from my last life, synchronize on the energy level with two planetary groups rather than just one. And this enables us to understand and connect with both groups to help integrate the two. So when I'm with Earth humans, I'm totally Earth human. I understand life from the Earth human perspective. I allowed myself to experience fear of the ET contact, which I was having as a child, when my upstairs, I call them my upstairs family, were contacting me. On a deeper level, I understood what was going on, but on the more shallow 10% conscious awareness Earth human level, I didn't understand, so I experienced fear. But this was actually a choice that I made before coming here, because of the fact that after writing my books, and I've written 3 books, by the way. The latest one is Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History. And I do a lot of interviews, and I get a lot of emails from all over the planet. And again, I hear people saying how frightened they are, how scared they are. So I've got to be able to understand from their perspective this fear of the ETs to be able to help them. So this is part of the reason why I chose to come as I did, with not a lot of memory of my grey existence until I was older and able to sort of integrate the two more easily.
Well, Judy, let me ask this now. Why take this route to sort of make contact or to let everybody know that they're here, and instead of somehow, well, just getting it out. If they have this technology, I mean, couldn't they just get it out there and let the world know that they're here?
Not really, because the difficulty is the Greys communicate by telepathy, as do a lot of the higher ET people. And when a human is in fear, they can't pick up on it. An example was one night I was working up on the ship. I have a very clear memory of this, and I walked into a room where a human man was lying on the table in the clinic. And as I walked in the door, he saw me, he caught sight of me, and the look of absolute sheer horror on his face was quite, disempowering. It gave me a shock. It sort of hadn't occurred to me just how people react. And I was trying really, really hard to say to him, look, don't be scared. I'm not here to hurt you. We were actually going to do a procedure on him to help him. And I could not get through. And I can still remember the frustration of trying again and again to break through this sort of, it's like a cocoon of fear that people wrap around themselves. The human body actually reacts in a physical.
But now, are the Star Children connected to the Greys, or the Star Children their own genetic makeup?
Of all different ET genetics. Many of them are connected with the Greys, but there are others as well, because there's a whole group out there. What people don't understand is people think, oh, there's Greys, there's Pleiadians, there's this, there's that. It's not quite like that. On planet Earth, it's very rare these days to find a person who is absolutely pure American or pure English or pure French. We all have a mixture of different nationalities in our background.
Well, there's no such thing as a pure American.
Exactly, or Australian for that matter. So the extraterrestrials are exactly the same. They're much, much older cultures than here, so the majority of them are hybrids. There's the Asasani Zetas, for example, who are half Earth human, half Zeta. There's many different ones from all the different cultures, and everybody is sort of hybridized.
But when it comes down to the human race, we all have a common genetic makeup. So what I'm saying is, when we're talking about Star Children, we're talking about Greys, we're talking about other types of so-called alien life forms. Are they all genetically connected, or are they all their own genetic makeup?
Well, of course, there's a genetic connection through the whole universe. Again, down here, we tend to divide everything up. The ETs refer to God as oneness, because in reality, we're all one. This is going beyond physical. Again, this is something that's really hard to get across. People think of the universe and different cultures as being physical, but that's a very, very small part of the whole. That the whole is far, far greater than humans can even begin to perceive down here, or technology can pick up on. The whole universe is multidimensional, so it really could be referred to as a multiverse. And of course, there are some are more genetically linked into others than others are. There's a mixture of different genetic lines. And the other thing is that Earth humans are evolved from a primate race, or genetically engineered, I should say. But other races aren't. The Greys, for example, have been genetically developed from an insectoid race, and there are others that are out of reptilian races. So there's so many different, human form takes many, many different forms in the universe. It's not just like down here.
Okay.
Judy, a couple minutes here before we go to break again, and I want to ask you about a soul. You were a Grey in your prior life, which you said ended around 1940. I don't remember the exact date. And then you came back and chose to be what you are now, which is a human, but a human who has a mission that was assigned to you by the Greys. Does that mean our souls are interchangeable? We all operate with the same souls, whether we're Grey or human?
Yes. We were given a teaching many years ago by the Greys on what they call the human ladder. It's actually a cycle, an evolutionary cycle through the universe. And we actually, there's 10 levels, what they refer to as galactic levels, but all they mean by that is that they're ascending levels of conscious awareness. And we actually have an aspect of our being on all those levels, or several aspects of our being on all those levels. So all of us have an ET aspect, all of us have a human aspect. It's much more amalgamated than people can get their heads around down here. So the soul remains the same, but we can come to, say, for one life we might be born as an Earth human. The next life we might be born as one of the Grey races, of which there are many. Another life we might come as a Pleiadian, but it's the same soul essence. And actually, when we get to soul essence, it's beyond planetary, culture, religion, nation, race. The soul is just pure energy. It's part of God's source, so that there's no labels on it. It's just pure energy.
So what is then the overall ET mission here on Earth? What are they trying to do?
Okay, the overall mission is to assist in the evolution of Earth humans. Now, this is what my latest book, the Zeta Message that you've mentioned a couple of times, is actually an older book that was published back in 2011.
Okay.
But my latest book, it's called Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History, and it's only just been released. And in this book, I go into the history of planet Earth, how there's been a number of Genesis events down here, and the part that these human Genesis events, and the part that these have played in Earth history, and the fact that the planet was hijacked by one of these groups going back millennia ago. And to put it into simple terms, it's as if planet Earth is a stagnant pool that's been sort of pushed aside away from the main flow of the universe. And so evolution down here has become blocked. Human DNA was actually interfered with in this process of hijacking the planet by this particular group. I call them the Reptarians in my group, or the Reptarian controllers. And they have continued to reincarnate down here. They basically run the planet. They're in control down here, hence the mess that the world's in. And people think that they have free will on Earth. They don't. They're very, very subtly controlled by this group. And that's what this book's about, going into all the whys and wherefores, how it happened back then, who is playing the parts, what's happening now, how to get out of it. And that's the overall mission of the ETs coming here, is to help people to get free of this control, which is why the ET presence stepped up after the end of the Second World War, after the bombs were let off that finished the war.
You know, I got to say, Judy, every time you give an answer, it creates 20 more questions. And right now, we've got to get ready to go to break, so I don't dare ask any more. But we have so much more to cover when we come back. And we're also going to open up the phone lines in case you have a question. You can call at 844-687-7669. We're talking with Judy Carroll. She's an extraterrestrial ambassador. You can check out her website at ufograyinfo.com. Gray is spelled with an E. She's got several books on the topic to her name, and you can check those out as well.
Yeah, and upcoming shows we've got. Tomorrow night we've got Kelly Sullivan Weldon coming on, Dream Expert, and we're going to be talking about what your dreams are telling you about your love life. And then Thursday we've got James Olson coming on. We'll be discussing how whole brain thinking can save the future and explore how we can also achieve peace within ourselves, with others in the world, by better understanding the nature of consciousness.
Yeah,
so some great shows.
Yeah, some great programs coming up. We hope, I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it this week, Jay, but I'm hoping that we can actually revisit our psychic experiment. Well, again, we haven't done it in a while, and I know that people are kind of anxious. So I don't know if it'll be tonight, but hopefully within tomorrow would be Wednesday. Hopefully the next 2 nights we'll be able to get some of that in.
Yeah. So also, like Jimmy was saying, the phone number is 844-687-7669. Again, toll free at 844-687-7669. We're going to be opening up the phone lines next hour. If you have a question for us or our guest, Judy Carroll, Extraterrestrial Ambassador, give us a shout. All right, we're going to take a quick break. A lot more to come. You're listening to Jason and JV Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
Paranormal. That cannot be explained by scientific methods.
Told of a creature that was 6.5 to 7 feet tall.
The CIA ran secret mind control experiments.
It's a tale of a creature that's been seen by many, but believed by few.
And experts say there have been reported sightings of paranormal activity.
And there was this creature, and it ran down this hill.
They say something was flying over their house, and they have no idea what it was.
How the world's most powerful individuals are actually shape-shifting reptilians.
My scariest ghost hunting experience.
Jason and JV. Jason and JV. Jason and JV.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. Who want it now?
Beyond reality. Radio.
It's Tuesday on the West Coast, Wednesday on the East Coast. Many of you are stuck somewhere in between. Welcome to Beyond Reality Radio with myself, Jason Hawes, and the always awesome JV Johnson.
I'm always very, very happy when we can talk about new stations to the Beyond Reality Radio family. And we've got a bunch of them. Somehow Michigan came in big in this last round of new stations.
It's funny because we already aired in Michigan on other channels.
I know, so I think we have Michigan double blanketed there. But thank you, Michigan. Michigan is a swing state when it comes to presidential elections.
Not when it comes to BRR.
It is not. It is fully in the BRR camp. I love it.
And let's throw a big welcome out to WDSR 1340 AM, Lake City, Florida. Then we've got WYPV 94.5, Mackinac City, Michigan. WHAK 960 AM, Rogers City, Michigan. WWMN 106.3 FM, Thompsonville, Michigan. And last but not least, KTEL 1490 AM, Walla Walla, Washington. Welcome to the Beyond Reality family.
Yeah, we're really, really pleased to have those stations added to the list of affiliates and to those markets and those listeners. Welcome to you all. I hope you will.
A lot of W's.
Yeah, a lot of W's there. I hope you will participate and give us a shout. Yeah, one of our chatters said, hey, we need some Ohio stations. We're working on that for sure. By the way, we've got a great show tonight. We're talking with Judy Carroll, who is an extraterrestrial ambassador, and we've got a lot more to speak to her about. But a quick reminder that tomorrow night, Kelly Sullivan Walden, who is a dream expert, will join us to talk about what your dreams are telling you about your love life. Some people may say it's a nightmare. I don't know.
Or like a volcano going off.
And
Thursday we'll be talking with James Olson. We'll be discussing how whole brain thinking can save the future and explores how we can achieve peace within ourselves, with others, and in the world by better understanding the nature of consciousness.
Listen, I'll make a deal with you, okay? I
don't make deals.
Okay, well, you're going to like this deal, I think. I will open up the discussion with the dream expert about my volcano dreams when I was 16 years old. I will, because I think that when we did have that dream interpreter that had that one explanation for those dreams, there are probably other opinions. There's probably other explanations for that dream.
What if this one's get worse?
Like I was just very scientific minded when I was 16 years old.
Therefore, so far from the truth.
I was geologically in tune at the time. And
you were in tune to something, I'll tell you that much.
It wasn't that other explanation, which shall go unnamed, but we will have the conversation.
No matter what, you're not going to. I don't care what what this one tomorrow says.
I know.
It's something you never let out of the bag. And you let it out of the bag.
I was unsuspecting. I was just telling, hey, what did this mean? I had this volcano dream that occurred all the time when I was 16 years old.
All the time. At night when I'm sleeping. And
well, that's when
I'm
you
a teenage
dream.
Boy.
That's when you usually dream, even when you're a teenager. That's when you dream.
I dreamt half the way through junior high school.
Anyway, everybody, thanks for joining us. We've got a great show, like I said, underway. And if you want to stop by the website at beyondrealityradio.com, you'll see a whole bunch of things there that'll help you out. Our list of affiliates. You'll also find a way into the chat room there. You'll find a way to stream the show if you don't have a radio station available. And you'll see the Beyond Reality Radio coffee mug, which if you click on that, you can purchase one of those babies, and shipping is included if it's domestic shipping. And it looks great with a cup of coffee in it, steaming coffee in the morning. It's perfect.
So make sure you grab our mugs. All right, so
grab the mugs.
All right, let's get back into talking about extraterrestrials.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. Judy, we have, again, so much to talk about here. When you say that you are an ambassador for the Greys and you are trying to help them deliver their message and help with the evolution of mankind, one of the questions that always comes up when these topics are discussed is why aren't they more overt in their effort? If they want these messages delivered, I mean, maybe they can't communicate because they communicate telepathically, but why aren't they more present physically? Why don't we see them more often?
Well, the thing is there is physical evidence, but it's been hidden away and covered up. It's not readily available for people. I mean, to say, there was material left from the various crashes that happened in the 1940s. There's been a massive government cover-up with that. So that was actually part of those crashes were a decision that was made by the ETs to actually to allow this to happen, to enable people down here to get hold of this physical material to prove that, yes, they really are ETs that are out there. There really are other beings out there who can operate these ships and things. So on a higher consciousness level, some of these crashes were allowed to happen because of this. But the trouble is free will down here took over and all the material was hidden away and the whole thing was covered up. So, of course, the ETs had no control over that. So, yeah, there has been physical evidence. The other thing is their main job down here is to assist in the evolution of humans. Now, evolution in the human kingdom is expansion of consciousness. And this means expansion of consciousness way beyond 3D physicality, where we're stuck. Now, okay, the ETs could just come down and land on the White House lawn or something, and yes, there'd be all this nuts and bolts physical evidence, but it's not really going to help human consciousness to expand, because evolution is always based on a need to change, a need for change. And the need for change now is for humans to open their consciousness past 3D, so-called reality, to higher realities. So the ETs are trying to create this how can I say, an understanding of people that they need to expand their minds more if they're going to understand what this is all about. So it's to try to encourage conscious expansion down here, or consciousness expansion, I should say.
Well, Judy, let me ask this, though. If they have the technology to get to this planet, and why fake a crash and then allow the government to hide any information? Why fake a crash to let us know they're here and then let the government hide everything? I mean, if they have the technology to get here, technically they'd have the technology to first off, devastate, destroy, annihilate anything they wanted to do. The fact of the matter is, why would they let an overpowering government hide the truth? And why fake a crash as your means of trying to let people know that you're here? That just doesn't make sense.
Well, planet Earth is a free will planet. So once it got into the government hands and the government did that, covered up.
And I get that.
ETs can't.
I get that part,
Sorry?
but I'm saying I get that part. Once it's in somebody's hands, they can't change what that person does. But the fact of the matter, why fake a crash as your means to let us know you're here? I mean, instead of just
to provide the evidence in the way of bodies, which the scientists or military, whatever, were able to dissect. They were able to do that. And also the physical evidence of the crash. They were able to pull that apart and back engineer it, etc. So that's the reason why that was done. I mean, it has helped hugely.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be more effective to land on, like you're saying, on the front lawn of the White House, or land at a TV station where it can be broadcast over the television networks to endless people, and it does get out? There's no way to stop that. I mean, the government's not going to be able to stop that within time. So, I mean, to fake a crash in a place like Roswell, New Mexico, or other places that are in the middle of nowhere just seems, I don't know why they'd fake a crash like that anyways.
The thing is, what we don't understand, people like yourself and me and, all the people who are involved in the UFO thing, open to it. We're completely open. So yeah, probably if an ET landed in front of you and came forward to introduce himself, you'd be fine. But the majority of people would not. It would create such a huge emotional trauma on this planet if that happened. By crashing and having the bodies there, it was a way of trying to show their humanness and also to enable the investigators to approach with it, keeping their own empowerment. This is really hard to put into words. What the ETs were trying to do, they were trying not to disempower humans by, suddenly turning up. I mean, most people would freak out. Even, I know, I'm trying to think who it is. I think it's Stephen Greer runs these organised sort of tours where he takes people out and they call ships in. And in many, many occasions, the ships start to come in, and then they pick up such a level of fear in some of the people there, they turn around and go back again. The last thing the ETs want to do is traumatise people. And if they landed down here, I can guarantee, people would be traumatised. That's the bottom line. So it was the most empowering way that we could approach humans.
Judy, let's talk about this disinformation campaign. Who's at the heart of it? And if they are spreading disinformation or misinformation, then they must know the truth. Are both of those statements true?
Come again? I missed the very last thing
I'm asking
you
if they're spreading, whoever it is, tell us who's spreading the disinformation and why.
Yeah.
And then if it is in fact disinformation, the people that are doing it must know the truth. And I just wanted you to confirm that. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes, they do. The ones who are causing problems down here, I speak about this very, very extensively in my book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth. They're this, what I call reptilian controllers who have been reincarnating on planet Earth, and they come down here in Earth human form, so you can't pick them, and very aware of the real ET presence and why the ETs are coming here to try to help us humans to evolve. And they don't want this to happen because they basically feed off human fear. So they want to keep humans in fear and they want to stay in control down here. They don't want some other ET group stepping in and pulling the rug out from under them. So, yeah, they're very, very well aware of what's going on.
Yeah, you also talk about... I'm sorry, did you have more to add to that? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I was just going to say some of the ET crashes have actually been caused by the ships being shot down. So they haven't all been accidental on purpose. Some of them have been shot down. That's the level of technology these people have got.
So you also talk about the misinterpretation of some ancient scriptures. I'm assuming that ancient scriptures might have something to do with some of our religious beliefs. What scriptures are we talking about and how have they been misinterpreted?
Okay. In my book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, I have included a copy of the Lord's Prayer that has been directly translated from the Aramaic language which Jesus spoke. Now, it's so different from the Lord's Prayer that we know in our churches today. Now, bearing in mind that scriptures like the Bible were written in these very, very ancient languages, and they've been totally, so much of it has been misinterpreted. I talk about this widely in my book. A language expert translated the Bible back to its original language, which I think it was Hebrew or Aramaic, one of those languages, certainly Hebrew. And he also translated the Quran, the Islamic scripture, back to its original Arabic. And he found that all of the problems that have arisen between Christianity and Islam have come about through misinterpretation of these languages into modern-day languages. What people don't understand is the Bible should not be taken literally, and I'd say probably the Quran as well. I don't know, I haven't studied it, but all scripture is the same. They're written in multidimensional languages. Aramaic is a multidimensional language. So you cannot translate them literally into 3D then it's been translated into English or German or French or whatever. And so it would have been done first deliberately and then taken from there, not deliberately, but not being understood.
Okay, we're going to talk a lot more about this when we come back from the break. The phone number is 844-687-7669 if you want to weigh in on the conversation.
You're listening to Jason and JV, Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
Stay tuned for more Beyond Reality Radio.
Don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with babes all day.
Join Beyond Reality Radio with Jason and JV.
Just another night here talking about some really interesting topics on Beyond Reality Radio with Jason Hawes and JV Johnson. We're really, really happy to be here. We're also very pleased that we've got so many new radio stations joining the affiliate list, and we'll talk about that list on the other side of the break. And we only have about a minute here. And Judy, I wanted just to give you a chance to talk a little bit about where people can get your books. And we've given the web address out a few times, but is there any other place that you would direct people to find out more about your work?
Yes, well, basically going into the website, ufograyinfo.com, and also on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, The Zeta Message. We also have a couple of YouTube channels. The main one is The Zeta Message, which is all one word, lowercase letters, and also another one, Zeta Guardian 1, just the number 1. On Zeta Guardian 1, we put up an aura cleanse that one of the Ray teachers taught us, which is very, very interesting. If people want to learn it, they can go on. We put it up on YouTube so people can learn it. The books are available from Amazon and ebooks from Kindle, so they're readily available. The 3 books are, my latest one is Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History, and my other 2 books are The Zeta Message, Connecting All Beings in Oneness, and Human by Day, Zeta by Night, a dramatic account of Greys incarnating as humans.
All right. Phone lines are going to be open for the next hour. For the next half hour. So give us a call at 844-687-7669. Again, toll free at 844-687-7669. If you have a question for us or our guest, Judy Carroll, Extraterrestrial Ambassador. You're listening to Jason and JV on Beyond Reality. Yeah, what's up, JV?
I wanted to say that when we get back, Judy, I want you to tell us about specifically how these grays appear, because you talk about them and you talk about being able to determine their age by their eyes. So you must have a very, very complete description of them. And I also want to talk about their language, which you've described as being something very similar to what we hear from dolphins. So we've got a lot to talk about on the other side of the break.
All right, a lot more to come. This is Jason and JV, Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
To
I'm going to get to your phone calls in just a moment here. Our guest tonight is Judy Carroll, and we're talking about the Greys, the Zetas. Judy, before we went to break, I had kind of teased the fact that you talk about being able to tell the age of a Grey based on their eye color. Explain what that means and give us a really firm, thorough description of what these Greys look like. I mean, we've all kind of got an image in our head. Is it the right image or not? Tell us what they look like.
Well, it's very hard to describe because there are so many different races. Even in the Zeta Reticulum system, there are about 30 different races alone, and there are Greys throughout the universe on many different planets. So because they're evolved from insectoids, they all more or less have the large head with the big eyes. Now, the colour of the eyes, this is really, really hard to describe because, yes, they do fade as they get older. But at the same time, the eyes are sort of like sunglasses that are built into the body. This is really hard to explain in physiological terms. A lot of them have the compound eye structure like insects do. The bodies are sort of like the bodies of insects, basically. So they're sort of hardish, very, very well developed for space travel. They're not as, how can I say, frail as human bodies. They've got much more strength to them, so they can take the G-forces in space travel. Some of them have 6 fingers, some have 4, some have 3. They have, different races have different characteristics there. Generally, they have the thumb and opposing fingers. So if, say, for example, a 4-fingered Grey, there'd be 3 fingers plus the thumb. There's one race, the blue-grey Arcturians, who actually have a thumb that they can retract into their hand, which is quite interesting. So they just bring it out when they need it. There are the very tall ones, and then there are shorter ones. So, to sort of give a general description, that's all I can do. They tend to have the large heads and very frail bodies. That's a general description.
So these images that we've seen, they're mostly artist renderings. They're pretty well accurate, and you would say, and I think there are some actually in your book, or at least on your website. I know that. Yeah. So, okay, good.
Yeah. Yes. Well, some artists' renderings are very accurate, others aren't. I do notice that on a lot of things online, they have pictures of very negative-looking Greys, which are obviously, a figment of the person's imagination. A real Grey doesn't have that sort of aggressive, nasty look to them that you see on some of the illustrations. Yeah.
All right, let's take it. We've had some people waiting on hold for a while here with some questions. Let's go to Zach in Missouri. Hey, Zach, welcome to the show.
Salutations. My question harkens back to what was stated earlier about the Lord's Prayer and things that were...
misinterpreted ancient texts.
Yes, that. Can you go in more detail about that? Because there is a lot of historical evidence that goes towards the validity of ancient texts.
So your question then, Zach, is just one little more thorough explanation as to what what Judy is talking about and how these things were misinterpreted?
Yes, what particularly is misinterpreted about these ancient texts?
Okay, well we only have about 15 minutes left in the program, so Judy, do your best here.
Yeah, look, it's okay, Jack. It's oh goodness, yes. It's because of the fact that those ancient languages are multidimensional. So all those ancient scriptures, Bible, for example, are multi-layered. Now, what people have done, they've interpreted the outer shallow meaning, but they haven't interpreted the deeper meaning behind the words. And so the whole how can I say, the whole sense of it in some cases has been changed. Now, I obviously haven't got time to do it here, but if you have a look at the interpretation of the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic in my latest book, and I put it up on Facebook occasionally, I might actually put it up again so people can see, it's vastly different from the modern version of the Lord's Prayer.
Okay, so maybe that'll help out, Zach. If you take a look at the Facebook page, we just probably don't have enough time here to get in too much more detail about that. You definitely want to take a look at the books too. All right, let's go to John in Texas. John also has a question. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hello. I'd like to ask the lady if there is any astrological prenatal chart schedule that these UFO aliens she's talking about are on as pertaining to interactions with us here on the planet down here? And is there any connection between her Australian group and the Shawnee Serpent Mound area of eastern Ohio? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, John. Did you get all that, Judy?
Not really, no. Could you just repeat it for me, please?
John, are you still there? I think he hung up. He was asking about some type of astral timeline that these alien visitors are on as it relates to their visitations to us, and if there was any connection with your group with the. I didn't catch the full part of that question. I don't know. Maybe John can give us a call back and we can get more clarification on that. But talk about, is there any type of astral timeline that these alien visitations are on?
Not really. See, again, time is the 3D thing. Journey, and we're actually going through one of these phases now, which is why the ETs are here. So the ETs would be tuning into that, but it's actually a major event for Earth rather than anywhere else, and for humanity. So yes, there are sort of time cycles, but the ETs work with the particular planet, and the time cycle refers to the planet rather than to the ETs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I want to move the topic to the language that the Zetas speak. And you mentioned they talk, or they communicate with us telepathically, but you also say that they have a language that is similar to the clicking sound that we're used to hearing from, say, dolphins.
Yes. Well,
is that true? Yes. And is there any connection to the language that we hear dolphins speak?
Yes, well, again, there's different races of greys. So, I mean, different ones speak slightly different languages if they're speaking physically, but very few do speak physically, but they can make these sounds. Now, the greys are evolved from insectoids, but there is other genetics in there as well. So there is some dolphin genetics in as well with one of the races. So yes, when they speak, you hear sort of whistling, clicking sounds, and these actually, funnily enough, come across sometimes when I'm doing interviews. They also make that sound like a dolphin, and I actually had an experience one night in my sleep when I was having a perfectly normal conversation with someone up on the ship. And I woke up in the middle of it, and this clicking sound was still going on in my ear, and it takes me a few minutes to sort of change from one reality to the other, so it gave me a bit of a fright. I thought, oh, there's an insect or something in my pillow. And then I sort of woke up and came back properly, and I realised, no, it was this conversation I was having up on the ship.
We have just a couple minutes left with you. One of the other things that you mentioned is that the Earth is a school planet. What does that mean?
Well, it's basically here people are learning to create. It's because, I mean, we're all evolving towards being creators. I mean, the higher ETs are creator races. And one of the main messages that the ETs are trying to get across is that the main thing people are trying to learn down here is to learn to create positively rather than negatively. Quantum physics is proving that we create by the way we think. And so one of the main lessons, as I say, on Earth is to learn to create in a positive way rather than a negative way. I mean, surely we want a positive future for our children and grandchildren. So, the idea is to learn to control your thoughts.
We've had people on this program and others who have talked about implantations, alien implantations into their bodies. There are doctors that actually specialize in the removal of such implants. What is going on there?
Okay. Implants are being put in by the genuine ETs. They're also being put in by a group down here. And in fact, that was the procedure I had to carry out on the gentleman who was taken up onto the ship, was to remove an implant from the MyLab program, the military abduction program that have been put in down here. Now, our implants have three reasons. They monitor the energy system, so they're placed in the chakra points for healing and balancing purposes, rather like acupuncture and Reiki. They also monitor the effects of pollution, emotional states, etc. on our bodies. They can be used to raise our energy frequency. This enables us to more easily access higher dimensional frequencies, for example, to board a ship. And the third thing they're used for is to assist communication between down here and up there, especially for those of us who are ETs experiencing a life down here as an Earth human.
So it's similar to what some people are doing now with the RFID chips, the self-implant chips?
Yes, that's right. Okay. That's right. It's actually interesting. I was speaking to Whitley Strieber the other day. I did an interview with him, and he was telling me about an implant that he has, and it enables him. He said, "Oh, it's better than having Google." He said, "I can link into it and ask anything I need to ask," and he said, in the next day or two, downloaded.
Jeez. Well, so let me ask this. I know we don't have much time left. So let's see if we can do this quickly. All right. I understand the whole concept that time only exists here on this planet. All right. So, and it's once you get off the planet, time doesn't exist, but it does exist to a certain point, because if I sat there, whether I was on Mars traveling to the moon, we understand that that's going to take time to get from one location to the other. So if it does, we talk about time doesn't exist when we get off this planet, but then we still talk about once we break the atmosphere, it still takes a certain amount of time to get to the moon. So it's a very contradicting statement.
Yes, but we're speaking about Earth plane technology here. We're not speaking about ET technology. ET technology is vastly, vastly different.
Well, let me ask this then. All right, with all this connection with the Greys and everything else, and all these artist rendering, why don't we have physical proof of people actually posting pictures or videos of contact or of these beings? I mean, why do we only have artist rendering pictures?
Because the Greys operate on a much higher vibrational frequency. It would be very hard for them to come down here in physical form, particularly the higher ones who are working with the planet. There may be some lower ones down here who can appear in physical form, but the higher ones can't. It's very, very difficult. That's why those of us who are doing this work are down here in human form. It's just to do with energy.
But the same thing, that they crashed on this Earth. There were bodies. I mean, that's physical. That's physical beings. So
yes, they did manage to do that, but it would have been extremely difficult for them to do it.
Presence on Earth. Anything else you want folks to check out?
Look, that's about all. We've got a lot of information on our website, so if people go on there, they can actually order the books from the website. We've got a direct link to Amazon there. which makes it a bit easier for people.
Well, Judy, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again at some point.
Thanks very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Have a great night.
Okay, so we're going to go to break. We're going to go to break. Thank you, Judy. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up.
open up, everything's waiting for you. You can go your own way, go your own way. You can call it another lonely day. You can go your own way.
So Lindsey Buckingham not traveling with and not touring with Fleetwood Mac anymore. I don't know what the heck the deal is there. I haven't paid any attention to it other than he's not doing it, and it's a shame.
More than I knew.
It's a shame because he's quite a talent. Obviously, one of the main songwriters for the group when they became very, very popular. Great guitar player, good vocalist, and apparently he's got a bit of an attitude because they don't want to work with him anymore. So I don't know. We don't talk about this stuff on the show, but sometimes it comes up.
But a big thanks to Judy Carroll, Extraterrestrial Ambassador, for coming, hanging out with us tonight and talking with us. And again, a big shout out to 1340 AM Lake City, Florida, 94.5 FM Mackinac City, Michigan, 960 AM Rogers City, Michigan, 106.3 FM Thompsonville, Michigan, and 1490 AM Walla Walla, Washington, for becoming part of the Beyond Reality Radio family. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night. We're going to be talking with Kelly Sullivan Walden, dream expert, what your dreams are telling you about your love life. So it should be an interesting show. If you haven't,
volcanoes, not volcanoes.
Yes. Head over to facebook.com/Beyond Reality Radio. Like the Facebook page for us. If you download the show from iTunes or anywhere else, just do us a favor and rate it for us because it helps push it forward and makes it easier for people to find. And that's what it's all about. But that's going to do it for us. Everybody have a great night. It's Jason JV and Beyond Reality Radio. We'll catch you all tomorrow.
Okay, my YouTubers, my YouTube chatters, thanks for being with me tonight. I appreciate it, as always. So you guys keep me laughing and keep me watching what I say into the camera because you're reading my lips. That's not good. So I'm going to have to go to that screen more often because you're doing that and you're reading my lips. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to look away. Yeah, okay. Great show tomorrow night, so hopefully we'll see you all there, okay? Have a great night. Good night, everybody.